teaching a 5-year-old, i.e. a
Me?
55-year-old.
Yes.
So we've explained a few things in the past, and we need to flesh that out.
Okay.
So if looking back, we finally got through the general way combat works. We've gotten through phases and turns, but there's a key piece of interaction that you are missing: the stack.
Yes. This scares me.
Yeah, it takes some getting used to. So the stack is the interaction, spells, and abilities that have yet to resolve.
And it's imaginary on some level.
Yes and no.
Okay.
The stack will forever exist in a mental state you'll get
But there's
into.
not a place on the battlefield or on my play mat.
No,
Okay.
not that you would be like, this is.
The stack.
No.
Okay.
So the stack is, let's say you play a creature. You play your Kamal Heart of Kroza. It is, before it resolves and hits the battlefield, it is on the stack. The stack is where everyone else then gets to respond to said spell. So say I didn't like Kamal Heart of Kroza and I had 2 blue mana open. I can, when I get priority, which rotates, you would have first priority. So if you want to cast more spells on top, that's called holding priority. However, after that, the next player in turn order would get priority. So they can try to put a spell on the stack to interact with something on the field or to interact with the spell on the stack itself. From there, each person in turn order gets to try to respond.
What is the difference? How do I know when I play a card or cast a spell if it's going on the stack or the battlefield?
Always a stack.
Okay.
It's never going to skip being on the stack.
The stack first, then the battlefield.
Correct. The stack is when people get a chance to respond and deal with it and interact.
Okay. In physical world, when I cast a spell, when I cast Kamal, I actually move him on my mat.
Yeah. So
And if I wanted to cast another spell, that would go on my mat. But when the next person has a turn, they can react to...
No, not turn. This is all on your turn.
Right. Okay.
So this is in the exact instant this is happening. This is why instants
Are called. Okay.
Yes. They are things that can respond to other spells. So as I was saying earlier, if I have my 2 blue mana, I can tap 2 blue and cast counter spell. Counter target spell. So I stop it from resolving. Anything on this stack has yet to resolve, and so that's when you can counter it.
So you're sort of collecting cards and spells from people to be resolved when everyone is done.
Yes.
With their
instants and abilities that they are putting on the stack.
Okay.
So it's the pile that you're waiting to resolve. And this is where it's interesting. The stack is resolved from the top down. So if Kamal's the first thing on the stack.
Last in, first out. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So
this is going to get complicated.
It is complicated, which is why I was like, we have to explain it.
Right.
So Kamal's first on the stack. Someone else is just says, I don't know, this is a time to do something. They can cast...
Well, stick with your 2 blue...
Yeah, so someone then casts... So Kamal is on the stack. My response is to then go ahead and cast the counterspell. So Kamal is first with the counterspell on top of it in terms of the stack. The counterspell will resolve versus countering Kamal.
Okay.
There's now no longer a Kamal on the stack because it's been countered. So the stack is what is called empty. Some people don't like this term because technically the stack is never empty, but saying it's empty or resolved is the same thing.
What happens to my physical card if it...
Because it is your commander, you would put it back in the command zone.
All right.
If it's a spell you cast from hand, like maybe a Sir Conrad the Grim, someone tried to cast that, it got countered, it'll go to the graveyard.
Okay. If it starts to get more complicated, and I'm sure it does, and it will. So I play a commander spell. You play a counter spell because you don't want my commander to come out. Someone after you, when they have priority, can then try to affect either one?
Yeah, or even you, because priority will pass all the way around, so every player gets a chance to respond every time a spell is put on the stack.
Oh, so if the last person to put something on the stack is player number 3, I get a chance to respond to that. The next person gets a chance to respond to that. And then if number 3 then, again, plays something, then it starts over. It goes back around. Everyone gets a chance. Okay. How do you control which card your trying to interact with on the stack, or do you only get to interact with
They
the...
say target. So on cast, you must choose the targets for that spell. If you're trying to interact with spells on the stack, you must target them.
So it's not necessarily the topmost card on the stack that you get to interact with. You can
No.
choose, depending on what spell you're casting, where in the stack you want to interact.
Correct. So this is what
Oh my gosh.
we're describing right now is the start of a counter war
Okay.
where people are going around. You cast Kamal. They cast counterspell. You, in response to the counterspell, cast a negate. That's trying to counter their counterspell. They, in response to that, might cast a spell pierce. And now this stack
To cancel out my negate, which would keep their counter intact, ruining my Kamal.
And so I might respond with, so the spell pierce will be countering the negate that's trying to counter. I could then go and offer you can't refuse, targeting the counter spell.
That is second from the bottom on the stack.
The thing they originally targeted.
Okay, this is what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, so you can target anywhere in the stack.
If you do that, and for this brief part of the conversation, that's the last card that's played. We all go around. That's the last one. What was the card?
An offer you can't refuse, targeting the counter spell.
Okay. If that works, if your spell works and if you target the counter spell,
yes.
How do you resolve the cards above it? Because we don't yet get to resolve Kamal, correct?
Correct. So
you come back to the top to resolve it?
Yeah, so you go back to the offer you can't refuse, and that's going to counter the counter spell.
Okay.
So that will resolve, and that happens.
They're both off the stack at that point.
They're both off the stack.
They've resolved.
Now, despite counterspell being gone and therefore negate not having a valid target, we don't get to that yet because first there's a spell pierce that is going to counter the negate.
Okay. Those are both now resolved.
And then we finally resolve the Kamal.
Because it's there by itself.
Correct.
Okay. Do you sometimes get into situations where people are countering each other and the first counter spell gets removed and you end up countering something you weren't trying to because what you tried to counter got removed and you end up accidentally countering something else?
Not accidentally.
Okay, because it's targeted. Everything.
Correct.
Okay.
However, if a spell like Deflecting Swat hits the stack, change the targets of target spell.
Oh no. Okay, hold on. Help me out. That's the text on Deflecting Swat.
Yep.
So cards can already be on the stack.
And you're targeting them at the spells on the stack.
I said this game is so complicated and we haven't even gotten into... All right, I'm with you.
So you're targeting the spell on the stack and you can change it to target itself. Counter spells target spells on the stack to make sure they don't resolve.
Okay.
Deflecting Swat will choose one of those, whichever the target of Deflecting Swat is, and say, no, you're not countering that spell. You're going to counter Deflecting Swat.
The person casting the spell, the Deflecting Swat spell, will then change the target of the other card that they are... Okay, this gets complicated.
Yeah.
All right. And then whose job is it to mentally work? Is it super obvious? It doesn't sound obvious.
It's a lot more obvious in person.
Okay.
Because no one is throwing their cards to the side. Normally when you get into a stack battle or a war like this, someone says, I'm casting this. And then interaction happens, but everything gets laid out sequentially in front of you.
Okay.
So you create mini stacks on the table.
And then you work through them
one at a time. One at a time.
What do you do physically with your card as it resolves off the stack?
I put in whatever zone is appropriate.
So graveyard or exile?
Graveyard, exile, battlefield if
I guess
survives.
It could go, right. It
or
depends
if
on
the command zone.
Okay. It could go almost anywhere depending on what the card is.
But this is just if it tells me where to put it, great. Otherwise, graveyard or battlefield. Those are the two defaults.
Graveyard or battlefield?
Yep.
Okay.
If it's a spell, graveyard. If it's a creature and it resolves, battlefield.
Okay. So you can come out of the stack intact.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
I know for a fact I put some counter magic in your deck to make sure you could.
Well, we'll go over that in a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. That's the stack when it comes to spells, abilities also use the stack.
All right.
Specifically, triggered and activated abilities use the stack. So, to use something that I think will both make you laugh and angry at the same time, landfall.
Yes.
When a land enters the battlefield,
I'm not angry at all.
X, Y, or Z happens. Well, there's a trigger to make that happen. And so before that happens, that trigger goes on the stack. And everyone gets a chance to respond to that trigger if they so wish.
Oh, even something as simple as landfall
uses the stack. If you want to do something that changes any part of the game, you're going through the stack.
Okay.
Okay, that's a gross oversimplification, but we're not getting into the niche stuff.
Right. Remember, this is explain it to you like I'm 55.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. I know. So those use a stack. Or a ability says, like, let's look at Arbor Elves. They have an ability where it's tap Arbor Elves, untap target forest.
All right.
Because it's not a mana ability, it uses the stack. Yes, I know mana abilities technically reset the stack, but there's not much that really responds to them in the way of anything.
And again, generalizations here.
Yeah, we're just trying to keep this simple. So that's an activated ability. And so that also, so activated and triggered abilities use the stack. So let's go back to our counter war.
Yes.
I've run out of resources, but I still have mana. I'm going to tap Temple Bell, put an activated ability on the stack, so every player draws a card, and hope I draw more interaction to continue building.
The stack.
Yes.
Okay.
Or say I don't have Temple Bell, but what if I had Rhystic Study?
Oh, I'm not going to remember what happens here.
Every time an opponent casts a spell, if they either pay one or I may draw a card.
Right.
And so I keep refilling my hand, trying to get more interaction to add to the stack.
And this is all happening to try to resolve this stack. You're
Correct.
trying to extend.
I'm trying to extend it to make sure you don't get Kamal.
Okay.
Naturally, I don't think this is going to be much of an issue. Like, you're not going to get into that level of play. At least you shouldn't with the deck I built you. Right. But it will give you a good idea.
So the stack becomes more active and important, roughly speaking, the higher the deck bracket that you play in?
Because the higher the bracket you're playing, the more likely you are to try to win at instant speeds and use combos that require specific interaction.
Okay.
That's the basics of the stack.
All right. My goodness.